It's 11 p.m. I've been sitting in front of my biochemistry book for 25 minutes, and I have read the same paragraph about Krebs cycle 5 times, but nothing sticking. Not a single thing. This was poor pre-med class. This will be on the MCAT. I should care, but I didn't. I closed the book. I opened a random documentary on YouTube, a professor explaining how cells convert food, sugar, into energy. And suddenly I'm locked in. 2 hours later, I have mapped the Krebs cycle from memory, fully. Color-coded arrows, diagrams on a whiteboard. Same material, but different fuel. Most people think that ADHD is a focus problem. In pre-med, that sounds like a death sentence. It's not a focus problem though. It's a fuel problem. Once I understood that one sentence, everything changed. I'm Alan Rood, a pre-med at UC Berkeley and a future medical student. I have ADHD, and this is the science about our brains and the systems I use to make it work for me. Let me tell you something that took me 2 years to understand about my own brain. Dr. William Dudson spent decades working with adults with ADHD. I bet even tens of thousands of them. And he found one thing that rewires the entire conversation. ADHD is not a disorder of attention. It's a different kind of attention. Here's what he means. Neurotypical brains run on what Dudson calls an important-based nervous system. They force themselves to do things because they are important. Study for an exam because the grade matters. Finish the lab because there is a deadline. Should is enough fuel for them to do something. Not exciting, but just functional. ADHD, on the other hand, runs on an interest-based nervous system. We cannot focus ourselves to care about something just because it's important. Our brain refuses, not because we are lazy, not because we don't care, but because our neural pathways that convert important into let's do it just built a little bit different. It's the architecture, not the attitude itself. It's not that I do not love medicine, I do. It's that my brain just works different. Each one of his patients, the same question. If you could get engaged and stayed, has there been anything you couldn't do? And almost every single one answered the same way. I was engaged. I could do anything. That is not a disorder. That is a brain with completely different fuel. Think of it like 2 engines, like let's say electric and diesel. I don't know. A diesel engine runs on cheap, steady fuel. Should be enough. An electric engine doesn't run on cheap fuel. You pour diesel into that engine, nothing happens. It just sits there. The fuel line is full, the parts are perfect, but it won't run what you're feeding it. Give it the right fuel and it produces more thrust than 1,000 diesel engine combined. That's what jet fuels are. In pre-med, everyone tells you push through, be disciplined. Should just be enough. That diesel advice for a jet engine. So now you're wondering, what is our fuel? I use a framework I call incup. What does that mean? Interest, novelty, challenge, urgency, and passion. When a task hits one of those triggers, our brain, yeah, let's do it. It just literally dominates. When it hits none of them, our brain is like, wow, what the fuck is that? I'm leaving. I'm gonna just jump off the roof. I don't want to do that. Not because it can't work, because there's no fuel. You can't run a plane with normal diesel. It doesn't work like that. Pre-med student who can't read a chapter for 20 minutes, but stays up till 4 a.m. reading about rare genetic disease on Reddit. The student who can't finish a routine problem set, but hyper-focuses for 6 on building a study system that nobody asked her to build, that in 5 days doesn't work anymore. That is not broken. That's an interest-based nervous system doing exactly what it's designed for. Later, I'm going to give you a 5-step system I use to activate incup for any subject, even the boring one. But first, we need to understand why the academic system itself is working against you. For 99% of human history, there were no lecture halls, no standardized testing, problem sets due at midnight, just the open world and the need to just survive it. And the traits that kept you alive, they literally looked like ADHD. Distractibility was environmental scanning. The hunter who didn't notice the movement in the grass got eaten. Impulsivity was a split-second decision making. Hesitate and you are food. Restlessness was exploration drive. Move past the next hill or your tribe starves. Every ADHD trait was a survival advantage for thousands of years. But then about 10,000 years ago, agriculture was scaled. Suddenly, survival meant planting crops, waiting months, same field, same task, season after season. The farmer's brain needs patience and routine. The hunter's brain needs stimulation, novelty. Two completely different operating systems. Guess which one modern school system and the pre-med track built around? In 2008, researchers studied the aerial people of Kenya. Those people were one of the last population split between nomadic, herding, and settled village life. Nomadic men with the ADHD gene, better nourished, thriving, their restlessness, novelty-seeking brains were perfectly matched for the constant movement in new terrain. Which, funny enough, I come from a nomadic tribe, so it does make sense that my heritage are the people that could survive that, people that would have had ADHD trait. But when we look at settled men with the exact same gene, they struggle. Why? Even though they have the same gene and same brain, they had different environments. That single study destroys the idea that ADHD is inherently a disability. It is only a disability in the wrong environment. And by the age 12, children with ADHD have received about 20,000 more negative messages than their peers. You're unfocused. You're not trying hard enough. Something is wrong with you. By the time sitting in the front row of your Orgo lecture, don't just think something is wrong with your performance. You think something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with your wiring. Something is wrong with the cage that we've been trapped. So how to get the right fuel for our brain? Here's the part where everything flipped for me. ADHD brains have less baseline dopamine, the chemical that controls attention, motivation, learning, and memory, not just the happy hormone. Lower dopamine at rest sounds like a catastrophic disadvantage, especially in a field where you have to memorize 3,000 drug names. It's the opposite. A neurotypical brain has enough baseline dopamine to function on boring tasks. So it just generates enough fuel. Your brain can't do that. Boring tasks, no dopamine. Brain shut down. Stare at page. Read the same paragraph 4 times. Nothing sticks. But on the other hand, when there is the right stimulus, dopamine doesn't trickle in. It floods. The brain that was offline 5 minutes ago becomes one of the most powerful learning machines in the room. Hours disappear. Forget to eat. Someone calls your name, times genuinely hear them. That is hyperfocus. Researchers at the University of Florida confirmed that people with ADHD experience hyperfocus more than the average person. Not despite their ADHD, but because of it. The gap between bored and hyperfocused is wider in the ADHD brain than in any neurotypical brain on Earth. And that gap is the advantage. There is also working memory, the mental notepad that you hold your information while using it. ADHD brains have a weaker working memory. That sounds like terrible for pre-med, but here's what actually forces you to do better. You can't hold 20 details, so you extract that one pattern that just matters. You see the mechanism, you do not memorize it. You see the forest, not the trees. In biochemistry, I do not memorize every enzyme in glycolysis. I understand the logic of why the pathway flows the way it does. And under exam pressure, logic doesn't disappear the way memorization does. 29% of entrepreneurs have ADHD in a population where there's only 4 to 11% that are diagnosed. This is not a coincidence. This is the architecture doing what it's designed to do. I remember one of my teachers said, you don't forget logic, you forget things you memorize. So just do not memorize. So you have the wiring, you have the engine. Here's the system. 5 things I do to activate my ADHD brain pre-med, not the generic advice of just set a timer for 30 minutes and then at 5 minutes in you're already like on your phone watching probably a cat video. We're actually looking at how do we stimulate our brain and build an interest-based nervous system. 1. Incup mapping. Before every study session, 2 minutes, I ask myself, what is the incup hook for this material today? Interest, is there a real patient case I can find that involves this concept? Novelty, is there like a weird controversy surrounding this thing? Or like, is there like an exception to this thing? Challenge, can I make this a puzzle instead of a list to memorize? Urgency, can I do this in 25 minutes? Or with I have all afternoon? Passion, does this connect? Even if it's like very like tiny connection to something I'm genuinely care about? Find one hook, the engine turns on. 2. Hunt, do not farm. Stop studying for the same subject for like 2 hours. That's a farmer's advice. You're a hunter. Rotate between subjects every 45 minutes. Follow what's hot, abandon what's stale. Interliving research actually shows that this produces better long-term retention. Your brain knew this before scientists confirmed it. 3. Destimulate, reset. Before any serious study session, 10 minutes of just destimulation. Reduce every sensory input. Dim the lights, open one tab, close everything else. Noise canceling headphones. Just reduce your sensory input. input, and leave your phone outside your room. Your brain shouldn't be spending its limited bandwidth fighting sensory noise before you even begin. 4. Time containers, not time blocking. Time blocking says 2 to 4 p.m., but the ADHD brain doesn't work on appointments, it works on fuel availability. For example, I designate a 90-minute window where I only study this subject that is available to me. I don't force myself to start. I remove every other option and my interest-based nervous system just with the container when it's ready. 5. Move before you learn. 20 to 30 minutes of movement. A walk, a run, a dance, anything that just gets your heart beating and your blood pushing. Normalizes the dopamine level for like 2 to 4 hours afterwards. That is literally free fuel, so why not use it? When I need to get into a study mode, I walk to campus instead of biking. I voice note myself talking through what I'm studying about. But by the time I sit down, the engine is already running. Don't shower first, don't check your phone. Sit down immediately. The focus window only lasts for 2 to 4 hours. Capture it. As Dr. Dutson said, ADHD is not a disorder. It is a second nervous system that functions perfectly well by its own set of rules. You have been trying to follow somebody else's set of rules your entire life, but you need to find your own rules. Remember that night in the library, the biochemistry textbook I couldn't read for 25 minutes? By 2 a.m., I had the entire Krebs cycle on my whiteboard. Same brain, wrong environment, the engine stalls. Same brain, right fuel, unstoppable. It's literally like the system measuring a fish's ability to climb a tree, and then it calls it broken. So we need to find our water. If you're one of my Cell Leaf girls or guys, drop a mood below in the comment and tell me which one of the 5 methods are you going to try first. Incup mapping, destimulation set. Anyways, I hope you really enjoyed my video. Leave a like, share, and comment, and subscribe. And see you next time. Bye bye.